Before you throw out those old calendars, wait until you see what we can make with them. Hi friends, it's Katie from Lady Red Crafting, and today I'm sharing creative DIYs all made using calendar pages as part of the Calendar Girl collaboration. Let's turn some ordinary into beautiful. I think strawberries are probably my favorite berries out there, and I'm so excited to be taking this piece from a calendar, and I divided it into 3 pieces. I'm going to be using the piece locally grown for my first project. I will be showing you another project that I will be using the other pieces on later in this video. So I'm starting out by just tearing around my piece here. I want a really rustic look, and I feel like a torn page really makes that happen. Now I have this piece of wood that I got from the Dollar Tree. It's in the Crafter Square section, and I'm just going to take my antique wax by Waverly and stain both sides of my piece. Now, you really didn't have to stain the backside, but I really like to finish the backside of all of my pieces, so I did stain all the sides. Then once I am done staining everything and it has completely dried, I'm coming in with my Waverly Plaster Colored Chalk Paint, and I'm doing a dry brush over the entire piece. Now while this is drying, I did grab a paint stick, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. Stain it with my Waverly Antique Wax, and then whitewash it with my plaster chalk paint. And now that we have both of our pieces of wood ready to go, I'm going to go back to that calendar piece and I flip it over. Next, I grab my Mod Podge, and this is the outdoor Mod Podge, and I'm going to be painting the back of the calendar piece with the Mod Podge. Now, if you haven't used this Mod Podge before, it is a little bit thicker than the regular Mod Podge, and it dries more rubbery. And that's because you're going to be having this outside. So that is why I'm going to be using this Mod Podge for this piece, because I am going to be placing this piece in my garden. So now, while the Mod Podge is still wet, we are going to lay this over the top of the piece of wood. Next, I am going to grab my cling wrap, and I'm going to layer a piece of cling wrap right on top of the calendar piece. Then I'm going to be taking my little roller here, and we're just going to roll that over the top of the paper, and this is really going to help it stick to that wood. And once that has dried, I'm going to come back in with my outdoor Mod Podge, and we're going to do a sealing coat over the top of the calendar page. Now, about 20 minutes later, it has dried but hasn't completely cured yet. I'm going to be taking a piece of cling wrap, and I'm going to layer that on top of our piece. Next, I'm going to take my roller, and I'm going to roll over the top of the cling wrap. Now this is going to help me take out any of those bubbles that might be there on the paper, and since the Mod Podge has not cured yet, they're just going to roll right out. Next, we're just going to go ahead and remove that cling wrap from our piece. Now, since I'm going to be putting this in my garden, I did come in with my Rust-Oleum Matte Clear Enamel, and I did a really nice sealing coat over the top of the piece. Now, once that has completely dried, I grabbed my paint stick from earlier, and we're going to flip over our sign. Next, I'm trying to decide where I want to place this paint stick so that I can use it as a way to stake this in my yard. And I decided that I needed about 4 inches on there to make sure it was nice and stable. So I'm gluing this on using my Titebond Quick and Thick glue, or wood glue would also work well for this. And I'm just going to set that down in place. Once I'm happy with where it is set, I am going to come in and use my staple gun and add a few staples to make sure this stays very secure. Now using a baby wipe, I just wiped off any excess glue so it's a nice clean finish. And once our glue is dried, we have a beautiful locally grown strawberry sign for our strawberry patch. I just love how this turns out. I am so excited to go put this in my garden with my strawberries. Now here is what our little locally grown sign looks like with the strawberry patch. I just love how this turns out. This is such a fun piece to put in your garden. Let's make a beautiful piece using our watermelon calendar page. I'm starting out by just using my cutting board here, and we're going to cut the top 3 watermelons off of our piece. We're going to leave the phrase "Life is sweet" on there. We'll save the rest of that calendar piece for a future craft. Next, I'm going to go ahead and just tear the edges off of our little piece here. This is just going to give it a really nice look when we add this to our piece. And once we're satisfied with the look of our piece, I'm going to go ahead and set this piece of paper aside while we prep our backing. Now this little piece I did get at the Dollar Tree. I absolutely love these wood pieces that I find in the Crafter Square section. Now, after I remove the hanger from this wood piece, I take some painter's tape and I'm taping this down to a paintable surface. The colors I'm using today is Cardinal Red and Fuchsia, and I mix the two together to get a really pretty watermelon color. Next, I'm using Arbor Green from Apple Barrel for my rind. Now I'm going to estimate where I want to tape off the wood piece here. And I'm just using that piece of paper from the calendar, and I'm just eyeballing where I want to put my blue painter's tape. Once I've determined where the best spots are for my blue painter's tape, I'm going to go ahead and paint the top of the watermelon with the red and the bottom with the green. And for this piece, I did have to do 2 coats of the red and 3 coats of the green to get the color that I wanted. I wanted a really vibrant color on this piece. Now I'm going to take a little bit more painter's tape and I'm going to tape off the inside just a little bit more so I'm able to paint the edges on our piece. Now to add some finishing touches to our watermelon, I'm taking this light Sherbert Apple Barrel paint and I'm just going to dry brush that along the bottom of our rind. Now let's go ahead and remove that painter's tape to see what we are left with. So a watermelon wouldn't be a watermelon without some little black seeds. So I am taking some black paint and we're just going to paint some seeds on the top of our watermelon. Now, once we have our seeds painted on and everything has dried, I'm going to be flipping this piece over. I want to make sure that both sides of this piece look amazing so that way I can hang it without worrying about what the back side looks like. So before we do anything else, we're going to flip this over and tape this back down to a paintable surface. Now on the back side, I am going to be painting a full watermelon. This is not going to have any decoupage on it, so we are just going to eyeball the watermelon part and then we'll add some green along the bottom. Now, while I am painting this, I want to tell you guys all about this fun playlist I'm a part of. The Calendar Girls. This playlist is so much fun. All of the crafts are made using calendars. And this month, the theme is fruit. So you're going to see so many fun fruit pieces that are perfect for the summer for your DIY fun. Thank you so much, Tiffany and Jessica, for inviting me to guest host with you this month. The playlist is linked down in my description box below, so please check them out, give them some love, and let them know I sent you. Thank you so much for watching, and back to our video. Now, once we have our rind and our watermelon painted, we just come back in and we're going to add those little black seeds. Now that our watermelon piece on the back side is completely done, we are going to flip this piece back over and let's do some decoupage with that calendar piece. So the first thing we're going to be doing is taking our matte Mod Podge, and I'm using that in the center of our piece. And I'm going to paint the area where there's just the raw wood. Now, while that is still wet, I'm just going to layer that Life is So Sweet piece right on top. Now, don't worry about the excess pieces on the edge. We will take care of that in a minute. Now I'm taking a piece of cling wrap, layering that over the top of my calendar piece, and using my roller, I'm going to roll everything in place. Now, what I have found with these calendar pieces is that it does take a little bit more finesse when you're decoupaging to keep those wrinkles at bay. So I am using this roller, and I really recommend doing that with these because I think this really helps smooth everything out. And now we just remove that piece of cling wrap. And once this has dried, I go ahead and I'm sealing this again with my Mod Podge. And I want to do this first before I do any of my sanding. Now, once my Mod Podge has completely dried, I'm going to come in with my little zip sander here, and I'm going to sand any of that excess paper off of our piece. Now, once I am satisfied with how my piece is looking, I am going to come in and re-add a hanger. Instead of using the twine hanger that came with our piece from the Dollar Tree, I am going to be using just a little satin ribbon here. And this is about 1/4 of an inch thick. And I'm just tying the knots on the front side of my sign. They'll kind of blend right in as little watermelon seeds. And then I'll cut any of that excess ribbon off once I know that my hanger is going to be perfect on my little piece. And now our cute little watermelon piece is complete. I absolutely feel like this piece turned out amazing. This Life is Sweet sign is so cute and perfect for the summer to hang in your house. Let me know down in the comments below if you prefer seedless watermelons or ones with seeds. Let's make a beautiful berry tag for your garden. I'm starting out with a wood tag that I've had from the Dollar Tree and a calendar page that I've had in my stash. The first thing I'm going to do is cut the calendar page into 3 pieces. We're going to be using the Berry Patch Open Daily piece and the beautiful stack of berries that are for you pick. To prep our tag, I'm taking my Waverly chalk paint in the color white, and I'm going to do a nice coat of white paint over the back and the front side of this tag. Next, I'm taking my Mod Podge in the Outdoor Formula, and we are going to go ahead and paint a nice coat of Mod Podge over the top of our tag. Next, I'm going to go ahead and layer on my calendar piece. This is when the Mod Podge is still wet. Once I have done that, I am going to go ahead and grab out some cling wrap, and I'm going to put a layer of cling wrap over the top of my calendar piece. Now I'm going to take my roller and go ahead and roll everything into place. This is really going to help that calendar piece stick to the wood there and remove any wrinkles. And once we are satisfied, I'm going to go ahead and remove that piece of cling wrap and let this dry. Now that our piece has dried, I'm going to go ahead and flip this over. Don't worry about the excess paper at this point. We'll go ahead and take care of that in a little bit. Now on the other side, we're going to be doing the same steps. We're going to add our outdoor Mod Podge, then we're going to layer on our calendar piece, layer that cling wrap, and roll everything into place. Now, once everything has dried, this is what our tag is going to look like. So we're going to need to remove some of that excess paper. And to do that, I'm taking my zip sander and I'm just going to sand around the edge in a downward motion to remove all of the excess paper. And I love doing this technique because it gives such a seamless look on the edges, and I think it turns out great. Now I'm going to put this piece down onto a paintable surface, and I'm taking my outdoor Mod Podge again, and I'm going to do a coat of Mod Podge over the top of the calendar page. And once we've sealed in this side of our tag, we'll go ahead and let this dry, and then we'll flip it over and do a sealing coat on the other side of our tag. Now, once both sides of our tag are completely dry, I'm going to take this tag outside and seal it with Rust-Oleum Matte Clear Enamel. Now everything is nice, sealed, and weatherproofed, we are going to go ahead and add just one little embellishment. And since I'm going to be using this outside, I'm going to be making just a little raffia bow for our piece. I didn't want to use any hot glue on this since, of course, it's going to be outside and we don't want to use hot glue outside. So I'm just going to actually wrap this around the circle in that tag piece there, and that is how I'm going to attach my bow. I do add just a little bit of quick and thick glue underneath it just so it stays in place, and this just gives a little extra flair to our tag. And now our beautiful tag is weatherproofed and ready to go outside. So to hang this little tag outside, you can do it a few different ways. You could add a stake to the bottom of it and you could stake this. You could actually use a piece of twine and you could have the twine hang it onto something. I am going to hang this directly onto one of those garden hooks from Dollar Tree. I found that this worked really well because I'm putting it inside my strawberry patch. Let me know what you think about this tag down in the comments below. And if berries aren't your thing, you could always make a tag for something else. I just love watermelon in the summer. It is one of my favorite treats. So let's transform this calendar page into something beautiful. I'm starting out with these 3 little canvases that I got from Walmart in a 3-pack. Next, I'm going to grab my straight edge and just measure out one of these little canvases. And they're about a 2.5-inch square. Next, I went ahead and grabbed out my paper cutter, and I'm going to cut this page into 3 different pieces. I'm going to start out by cutting off the top 3 watermelon, and then I'm going to cut the bottom 3 watermelon off. And we're going to use the 3 watermelon in the center. I'll save the other 2 pieces for a later craft. Now, after doing a quick fit check to make sure that my watermelons are going to fit on each one of these little canvases, I'm going to then cut out those watermelons using my cutter again. Now that we have our little watermelons all cut out, I am going to keep the cutter out for a few more minutes, and I had printed out a few little phrases that had to do with watermelons. And so I am going to go through these phrases and pick a few that I think that will work well on these watermelon pieces. And if you're interested in these phrases, I will leave a link down in my description box below for you to get those. Now that we have all of our pieces cut out, I'm taking my Mod Podge, and this is the matte Mod Podge, and we're going to go ahead and paint our canvases. I'm going to start out by painting one canvas, and while it is still wet, we're going to go ahead and layer one of those pieces of watermelon over the top. Then I'm going to repeat that on my other 2 canvases. Next, I'm going to grab a piece of cling wrap, and I'm going to layer that on top of the watermelon piece. And then using my roller, we're going to roll that piece into place. This is really going to help with the wrinkles. I find that with using this paper, you have to be really careful on the wrinkles because it tends to bunch up a little bit more than the napkins or tissue paper would. Now we just go ahead and remove that cling wrap, and let these dry. Once everything has dried, I'm going to go ahead and determine which one of these little phrases I'm going to be using on my pieces. Once I have that decided, I'm going to go ahead and do a sealing coat of Mod Podge over the top of our watermelons. And while that Mod Podge is still wet, I'm going to layer our little phrases right on top. And now that our canvases have dried, I'm going to do a final sealing coat of Mod Podge over the top of everything. Now, while our pieces are drying, I have these magnets that I got on Amazon, and they're very thin, but they hold up really nice. They also are self-adhesive on one side. And since we know that our squares are 2.5 by 2.5 inches, I'm going to do 2-inch squares for my magnets. And the nice thing about these is they're thin enough that you can cut them easily with your cutting tool. And once we have 3 squares cut out, we're going to go ahead and add these to the back side of our canvases. And I did find that using the adhesive on these magnets were just fine. I didn't need to add any other glue to these pieces. Now here are our adorable magnets. Too ripe to quit, sweet but slightly unhinged, stay cool, don't be bitter. So I would love to hear from you. Let me know in the comments below what phrase you would want to include on your magnet. Thank you so much for crafting with me today. I hope you enjoyed these 4 calendar page DIYs and it inspired you to look at old calendars in a whole new way. Don't forget to check out the amazing creators in the Calendar Girl collaboration link below for even more inspiration. And until next time, please remember, craft more, stress less.